Welcome to Principles in Efficient Design. In this segment, we're going to go over a few different points. Basically, how to make the design function for the client as best as possible, as well as how to make it the most efficient install for you. We'll be digging into things like what is an efficient hardscape design? Also, what is not an efficient hardscape design? How to identify the needs and wants of your client to both gather that budget that that client has, as well as making sure you're maximizing that client's budget for both yourself as a contractor to maximize your productivity on the project, as well as your profitability, but also making sure that you make that client feel one of a kind with the design that you're able to provide them. And also how to present that design to your client. So a design should meet the needs of your client in a manner that is most efficient for your crews and your installation style. And as a territory manager, I see a ton of stuff out there. And some of you may have designers on staff, some of you may be owner designers, sales, do it all together. And one of the main pitfalls I see is you try and fill all these needs that the clients have, but it doesn't necessarily translate into an efficient design for your guys out in the field. And you might get bogged down with some of the things that the client really said they wanted that you as a professional could have really kind of curbed during the design process. As you can see on the screen here is when I talked about a design meeting the needs of the client. We took this very linear approach to the design, and instead of a curved seat wall that they may have asked for, we put in a linear seat wall with a linear fire pit. Okay, we gave them the structure that they asked for with this. We have a nice dining area. We also made the stairs and the steps very linear. Okay, these linear designs make the installation much faster and more efficient. It shows all the needs and wants of your clients. It also allows the customers to see your knowledge and skill level when it comes to presenting a nice professional design. So let's talk about kind of the other half of this. What is an inefficient design? And by inefficient, I don't mean it's wrong or bad, okay? What I mean is how does that design translate to both how your customer views it, but also how your crews install it and how efficient they can be. Some of the things that lead to an inefficient design is a curvilinear design for walls and seat walls. Every single stone in this wall has to be cut twice. Every cap has to be cut twice. Those curvilinear steps, that all has to be cut twice. Versus a linear design where the guys can lay it out more efficiently, have way more productivity on that job site. And if you can kind of translate these things in the design process, it will lead to a much more efficient project down the road. All these curves and these cuts make to a very low production speed on that project. And it's also very difficult to estimate the proper amount of hours. Everybody out in the field has different skill levels. It's very difficult to kind of translate hours and materials and how much waste they're going to have, how many screw-ups they're going to have into accurate data when you're working with these very intricate curvilinear walls and vertical elements. And as you can see in this, kind of the plan view, take kind of the project that we had as a linear design. Let's say we designed it as the customer asked for with the curvilinear options, okay? Very different. Before we had linear, now it's curvilinear with a couple columns. We still have the structure and the customer would probably be 100% fine with this. But are you going to be able to get the extra 15, 20, 30, 40% for this seat wall or seating wall versus the other one? This lowers the production speed and it lowers the profits in the job. I've seen it time and time again. Again, these designs can be done, but it takes experience and it takes understanding of how your crews can install these types of projects and these more difficult, intricate, curvilinear jobs. I've told you how inefficient curves can be. So how can you incorporate curves for those clients that ask you, hey, I really want curves in my design? Okay, in all of my experience, there's ways to put curves in the design by not making it in the vertical parts of it. You can do a curve in the flat work, right? Right here. We have a curve in the paver surface. And if you're not familiar what rip cutting is or overlaying and rip cutting, we used to be very, as an industry, I know when I first started out very young, we used to basically lay our border in and then cut to our border. Okay, now we're a lot more efficient where we'll take this field paver and we'll overlay this curved area, score our curve in, and basically use a partner saw or a cutoff saw and just cut this curve in right in the ground so you don't have to cut. It's very efficient to do a curve this way. We can also soften up the design by adding curved mulch beds. And it's one thing that I really impress upon my contractors is if they're just doing hardscapes, still at least design in the mulch bed and a potential landscape so you do soften that design up, especially if you're moving more to that linear design. You want to be able to soften that up with some greenery, some shrubs, and it will also translate into you being more professional by being able to show your clients everything that they can have on their job site. Now you can kind of see the finished image here in 3D view, and it looks very nice. The homeowner asked for curves. We don't have any curved walls. We just have curved flatwork and curved landscape beds. And this design translated very well to be very efficient for both the contractor, and it met all the needs and wants of the customer. So it kind of fit the best of both worlds. And in these type of situations, you're going to be very efficient and very profitable on projects like this versus those curved vertical elements. So let's get into kind of meeting with the clients, okay? And some of the different points that I want to make in when you're meeting with the clients and how we kind of deal with that, right? You know, the main thing is to ask the right questions. You know, we kind of do this need one analysis when we're on site. We don't do it obviously verbally with the customer, but we kind of lay it out. We try to build this rapport very early. We have great communication with these customers. You want to kind of hear what their needs and wants are for their site. Do they want a structure? Do they want a pergola? Do they want a fire pit area? Do they want a fireplace? Do they want a seating area? How many people do they want at the table out there so they can seat? Do they want 6? Do they want 8? You know, with experience will become the ability to explain rough numbers to obtain a realistic budget. And one of the toughest things that contractors always tell me is customers never give me a budget. But it's crucial, because if a homeowner is asking for a ton of different items that could lead up to an $80,000, $90,000 project, but realistically they only have a $25,000 budget, you need to know that so you're not wasting your time. What I have seen, and in the times that I've had client meetings with contractors, is once you build that rapport and you show that professionalism, it's much easier for that customer to trust you and give you an accurate budget once you can kind of give them some of these rough numbers based on experience. One thing I always stress to all of my contractors is never give square foot pricing. It's such a huge pitfall in this industry. Square foot pricing kind of ties you down to this price that possibly cannot be achieved when you do the final rendering and the final design. And what I mean by that is it's completely dependent on the job. Not every job is flat and has great access, and a dealer can get their Moffett back to make sure you're not lifting and moving material 18 times. Every single site is different. It's impossible to have 1 square foot pricing for every project. It doesn't work. If you want some more information on that, feel free to get with your territory manager, but it's something that I see in this industry time and time again, and it's something I really want to stress is try and get away from that and make sure you build that rapport with the client and get more of a budget from them and walk through the project. So how do you maximize the budget with your customer, okay? And we're going to be getting into some topics that if you're not utilizing some of these tools, it's something that I do stress. You know, we said before, make sure all of the design has the needs and wants of your customer. You know, get that full potential. Lead the sales process. It's amazing at how much influence you as a contractor, you as a professional have in the sales process with your customer. A lot of these meetings I've been on with contractors and clients, they let their customers dictate how the job's going to look based off Pinterest pictures and all this different internet research they've done. That might not translate into the most efficient design for you and your company and your crews. You have the ability to interject your professionalism into the design process to make sure that you're maximizing both the needs and wants of the client as well as the profitability that you're going to have and the productivity you're going to have on that project once you sell it. If you're not currently using a 3D rendering tool like Unilock's 𝐦𝐨𝐬, please start doing it. Get with your TM, go online, start researching it, and start practicing it. It's an amazing tool that will help you sell and help you achieve a lot of these things that I'm talking to you about today. Also, add items into the design that may not have been discussed or kind of on a whim by a customer saying, oh, I'd really love, or I wish I could have had a fireplace, or I wish I could have a pool one day. Design it in. When you have a 3D software and you can design these things in, it always comes down to the one main point that I hear so often is if you don't show it, you're never going to sell it. And I've experienced this time and time again when I've helped contractors do a 3D rendering, kind of get them started into the process, get them comfortable with the design process and the sales process with the customer. These are things that are very important, is make sure to show it, because if you never do, never, ever, ever, ever sell it. Turn their dream into a reality and a profitable project for you. Also a project that your customer is going to love and brag about it. So you get basically those referrals from these projects. And this project you see back here, a lot of these points we made today with efficient designs, they translate into so many different things. We went linear with the fire pit area. If you go into somebody's house, you're not going to see a bunch of round rooms and a bunch of round furniture. It just doesn't happen anymore. A lot of design trends are going more linear and more contemporary. A few things that we have here to make sure we met all the needs of that client is we have the pergola here, we have the dining area, we have a couple different lounging areas with a linear fire pit opposed to a curvilinear, so it's very efficient for both you and your customer because they can purchase furniture that fits the area much better. We have the grill island there and we have the linear steps. All of this kind of encompasses what we discussed today to be more efficient with the design that meets the needs of your clients, but you as the professional kind of move them in a direction to make this job the most profitable for you and the most efficient for you so you can get on to the next one. A couple other things that we want to point out here is even if they wanted curves and everything, show your professionalism by intermixing some different materials and textures. In the fire pit area and in the lounge kind of dining area, you see art line being used or more of a linear pattern on a 45. In the walk area and more of the lounging area, you see more of a large format, a Bristol Valley or a Beacon Hill there. So really take those things into account when you are doing these designs. And it basically will show how professional you are and build that rapport with that customer. So kind of in summary for today, some of the key points we want to make sure that we got across is it all starts with great communication between you and your client. I hear it all the time with clients when I go on these meetings with contractors and I go kind of help them sell these jobs is, hey, I tried reaching out to 3 or 4 different clients or customers or contractors that were referred to me by neighbors and only one called me back. Be that one that calls them back. There's a ton of opportunity there. And guess what? Since you're the one that called them back, you're really not going to be competing with everybody. We've done research and statistics on it, but realistically, more often than not, you're competing more with yourself than you are other competition in the marketplace. So as long as you build that rapport and you build that trust with that customer, it's going to lead to a much more profitable, much more productive project in the end for you. Remember how that design translates into the field, okay? Vertical curves are very difficult to price, very difficult to kind of figure out what time it's going to take out in the field. Lean more towards that linear design. Also, get that budget from the customer. It's very important to get that budget so both of you aren't wasting your time throughout the process. Make sure the design meets all the needs and wants of your customer and show that professionalism. Make sure your thoughts are well known and put into that design, and you educate your consumer and your customer why you did these certain things. All this will translate to the field for both you as the owner or the designer to a more profitable and a more efficient design. And again, we'll leave you with this: if you don't show it, you'll never be able to sell it. So really, I want to take the time to say thank you for listening to this segment on kind of the intro to and principles of an efficient design. And if you have any more questions and you want to get some more info on this, feel free to reach out to your local Unilock territory manager and they'll be able to help you out with some of these points that we covered today.